Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's rosters Orcs. We are going through every team available in Blood Bowl 2020 and building some great and fun rosters for Blood Bowl 7s using the Deathzone rulebook. A few things changed in the Deathzone rules regarding to 7s. If you want a full breakdown of that, we've got a video for that already. But what we're doing is we're taking the last couple of years of Blood Bowl 2020 knowledge, an insane amount of Blood Bowl 7's knowledge, and we're presenting to you some of the best and most fun rosters for Blood Bowl 7's. Okay, so Orcs. Orcs are a fantastic team in Blood Bowl 7s. We ran them in the first 7 Super Series and they did great. When it comes to 7s, you're limited to 4 positionals, so Orcs do suffer ever so slightly. The majority of 11s teams tend to have 8 or 9 positionals. Yes, all 4 bubs, all 4 blitzers, and maybe a thrower or a goblin or a troll, okay? Can't do that in 7s. You have to kind of lean. So they take a little bit of a hit in that regard, but what they suffer in that, they make up for having a brilliant set of players to build some great mid-range teams in 7s. And because they've got so many players, they've got so much flexibility, there's like 59 different Orc rosters you can brew up for 7s. We've not got 59, I think we've got 5 or 6, and there's a reason we've got 5 or 6, because they all play quite differently. That's the beautiful thing about 7s. Anyway, the strengths of an Orc team in Blood Bowl 7s is their players. Blitzers are fantastic, and in 7s they get even better. Movement 6 is kind of average for normal Blood Bowl, but in 7s they don't start in contact. The no man's land is 6 squares, so they can get a blitz off with one go for it right from the get-go. But what they lack in speed in 11s, 7s is a lot more open, so that 6 covers a lot more territory. And by the way, they've got awesome armor, normal good agility, they start with block, and a good speed as well. They are a fantastic positional, and the good thing about 7s is whether you're playing League with random skills, they're going to do great, or if you're playing a Tournament Resurrection constructed format, you can pick exactly what you want, and the blitzers can become anything. They can become removal, they can become frenzy suicide pieces, and they can become excellent ball carriers. Okay, backing those guys up, we've got the big un blockers, who I am going to call Black Orcs at some point, so I do apologise for that. Big uns got better in this edition. Movement 5. In Blood Bowl, standard Blood Bowl, it's kind of like, yeah, 4, 5, it doesn't really matter. I'm still not racing a dwarf. Well, actually, in 7s, that 5 movement is huge. It's 11 squares wide, this pitch. So one dude, one big and blocker, who is, by the way, strength 4 and armor 99, can cover your entire backfield. So even though they are slow, in 7s, you've got one Black Orc on your roster, you can cover every square on that pitch. So actually there's a couple of clever things you can do with big uns that make them even more dangerous. But in Blood Bowl 7s, even though they're slow, even though their agility is low, it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit closer, and these guys therefore are a little bit more deadly. And then there's the Orc Thrower. So the Orc Thrower is a contentious piece. Some Orc players swear by them, and some Orc players swear at the other Orc players that run them. It's quite entertaining actually. But it's 7s. In 7s, your Blood Bowl, in 7s, your rerolls are twice as expensive. So you may not be able to take one at all on this roster, let alone multiples. So when you're picking up the ball, it's quite useful to have a special skill called Sure Hands to give you that reroll every single turn you need to pick up the ball. So the thrower is slower at movement 5, sure, than the blitzers. Doesn't start with block, sure. And you do have passing 3+ with a passing reroll, which is fine. Actually, it's pretty good. And in 7s, you're going to get an open target. It's risky, but having that sure hands player there is really useful. And because they get passing on a normal, you may just be able to score an extra leader reroll. So the thrower becomes a little bit of a quarterback in 7s, which is actually pretty cool. Now, we've kind of touched on the weaknesses as we've gone along here. Medium speed, the fastest players you've got are the blitzers, which is good, and the goblins, who you do have access to. Now, the goblins here are sneaky fast in 7s because Edge 3+ with dodge and stunty because of the way sevens plays out, you kind of normally going to get a little bit of space after 1 or 2 dodges. So goblins are actually pretty great and pretty fast in sevens. Medium agility. Everybody here is Ag 3+ at best, and you are going to be looking at the troll, who's Ag, never mind, he's rubbish, and the black orcs, who are Ag 4+. So actually, your agility is fine. If you've got a sure hands piece, you're good to go. If you don't have a sure hands piece, then you are just fine on agility. It's not going to be automatic though. And animosity. This is an interesting one. So animosity kicks in 1 in 6 times, right? Normally in 11s you've got a reroll, so it's actually 1 in 36 times. You know, that handoff that you need to make happen. Worst case scenario, you're going to burn a reroll on it. Now in 7s you don't have rerolls, so 1 in 6 times you're trying to give the ball to somebody else to score, it's gonna go wrong. But the way Orcs play, you're not particularly in the market for stretch plays all that often. You're going to have the strength and combat skill to be able to run the ball, so the handoff is going to be rare. But every now and again, you're going to get an opportunity in 7s, and animosity is going to come in and potentially ruin your day. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the best and brightest 7s rosters that we've got for you today. We are going to start with the foundation of a lot of great Orc rosters for 7s, and it's the 4 Blitzer Reroll roster, and the title absolutely gives it away. The 4 positionals you have are Blitzers, and it does in fact come with a reroll. And that's your roster. So this roster here focuses around the fact that actually over half your team are movement 6, which we've agreed is fine, Ag 3+, which we've agreed is fine, and block with high armor, which we've agreed is excellent. So this is the fastest Orc roster you can build, the most combative roster you can build. You've got skills in block, and you've got a reroll there for things to go bad. Now you're left with 10k, which doesn't really buy you anything in 7s, but actually this is a great starting spot. You've got 10k spare, so you can upgrade a Blitzer to a Bub to give you a little bit more strength. You can downgrade a Blitzer to a Thrower to give you that integral sure hands. In both of those circumstances, you're giving up movement and the block skill, but you're gaining a strength 4 piece, or you're gaining that sure hands piece. So the 4 Blitzer reroll is where you want to start when you're thinking about taking an Orc team. And the beautiful thing about this roster is that it works just as well for League as it does for constructed Blood Bowl. So in League, you are going to be in a position where you are giving your players, if you're using the Deathzone rules, you're giving your players a random secondary or a random primary after each game. Well, then you get some really good candidates here, because the Orc linemen are a prime candidate for a random general. There's a ton of great skills they get, and then you've got the Orc Blitzer, who quite frankly doesn't need any skills, but actually you've got access to strength, and we're looking at guard, mighty blow. There's a lot of skills that actually the Orc Blitzers benefit from. So you end up with a team here of all players with barely any bad opportunities for randoms. And then you swing it over to constructed Blood Bowl. Constructed 7s is my favorite thing to do, whether you're doing a 7 Super Series kind of format where you get a skill every time and you choose it, or whether an expansion league basically, or you're running a tournament build where you go boop, these are my skills. Your 4 Blitzer build just gets to be so choosy. And now Orcs are tier 2, you tend to get an extra skill as well. So the Orc Blitzer, skills you might be wanting to take in this roster. If you're not going to downgrade and take a Thrower, then you can take sure hands on a Blitzer. You may be thinking, well, I'll take it on a Line Orc and let them become my my primary ball carrier, then I've got 4 Blitzers to run around and blitz. Absolutely fine. I do, however, recommend that you don't do that and you put sure hands on one of the Blitzers or instead. I know it's kind of like, oh, but it's my Blitzer. I want him to be punching things. Yes, that's fair, but he's also faster than the lineman and comes with block already. If you've got a ball carrier, the first thing you want to do, unless you are a passing heavy offense, is give them block to keep them standing, right? Well, the Blitzer already comes with block and he's faster than a lineman anyway. So sure hands on one of your Blitzers in this build is absolutely recommended. It'll also protect you against strip balls. So if you've got Valkyries flying around, then that will help. Or, you know, kitted up war dancers. Right, that's the ball carrier sorted. Other great skills for the Orc Blitzers. Tackle. You are playing 7s. There is a little bit of an open field a lot of the time. You are a movement 6 blocking Blitzer. Taking tackle is going to mean that you will be able to probably get a really good shot at the enemy ball carrier. Elves are going to have dodge. Stunty teams are going to have dodge. maybe your opposing Orc team might have a Goblin and they also have Dodge. Tackle is going to be so useful for you in any circumstance. Dodge is such a great pick for any player to get better, that you can kind of rely on that team having it, right? So therefore, tackle becomes a really good sweeping safety in the backfield. What else have we got listed? Guard is a fantastic skill. You may be thinking, well, a Blitzer doesn't need guard. No, but his mate, the other Blitzer, does. Now, the benefit of having a guard piece here on one of your Blitzers is that they can team up with another one. So the guard piece moves in and your other Blitzer then gets 2 dice with block on any target, basically, because you've got that 6 square movement, 11 square wide pitch, you have got full coverage. That guard Blitzer, who can hold his own, absolutely, because he's got block, he's got good armor, allows your other Blitzers, of which you've got 3 on this roster, to be able to just choose the right moment to swoop in there and take a 2 die block. If, for example, you had 3 skills and you went sure hands on a Blitzer, and then guard on a Blitzer, and then tackle on a Blitzer, well, in that circumstance, you've got 4 block pieces. One's a great ball carrier, one's a great support, and the other guy's going to be able to work with the support piece and get a nice, juicy 2-die tackle block on the ball carrier when it happens. And actually, that's going to go pretty great. Mighty Blow is definitely something to consider as well. This is an Orc team. These Orc Blitzers are going to be punching stuff, and having Mighty Blow means that when you punch stuff successfully, they stay down successfully. It's okay. I wouldn't worry too much about it. In sevens, it's quite fast gameplay, so knocking a guy down, maybe even stunning them, is going to take them out for quite a while. It's going to hurt them enough from a kind of tempo play that, even though I love removal, and the thing is, 1 player removed in sevens is a 1.5 players version basically for 11s, right? So you take a guy out, they're down 14% of their starting roster. If their starting roster is 12 players and you lose 14% of that, that's basically 2 players. So I know that's not exactly right, but you know, we're talking about 2% difference. Mighty Blow will be really useful to remove players. And then, and this is the really cool thing, if you get access to a secondary skill, a chosen secondary skill, you can even go so far as to put leader on one of these Blitzers. Now, you're going to be using them, they're going to be blocking, they're going to be blitzing, right? But actually, that leader reroll is going to be useful across the team. And you may be thinking, I don't necessarily want to put this on a combat piece, Ben. Well, it's sevens. Everybody's a combat piece. And quite frankly, if you're going to keep leader safe, armor 10 with block is going to be a really safe place to do it. Now, they're supported by the Line Orcs, and block, sure hands, kick are all great skills, especially if they're randoms. Kick is the king of sevens. So if you can take a Line Orc with kick, you're just going to be able to score some really, really good, short, safe, onside kicks. This new edition of sevens does not have the roll 2 dice, take the less. It is just roll a dice and hope it doesn't go off the pitch. You've got kick, you can half that, you can kick it close to you, and you can just be right there, primed, ready to smash some face in a very orky fashion when it comes around. This roster is the best starting point for Orcs. Like I said, you can drop a Blitzer, take a bub, you can drop a Blitzer, take a thrower, you can season to your taste, but if all you do is this, you've got a reroll, which is huge in sevens, and you've got 4 blocking pieces, which is also pretty good. And you can flex it even further. We've got the 2 Blitz mix here, which is a derivative of that 4 Blitzer reroll build. And this is a really good roster to chuck out there if you fancy trying out Orcs, because you've got a little bit of everything Orky. You've got 2 Blitzers, 1 big un, 1 thrower, 3 Line Orcs, and you've got a reroll in there as well. So this is a really good place to dabble with Orcs. You've got 585k use, so you've got 10k over, so you can even drop another Blitzer and take another big un if you want to go a little bit stronger. Now, this has less speed and less skill than the other roster. You've got your integral sure hands, you've got your strength 4 piece, and this is just a massively derived roster from that 4 Blitzer point, but actually this is an example of what you can mix in and what you can flex about. The only thing you could do on top of this is drop a big and blocker and take a Goblin instead, and that will give you access to a Desperate Measure while you've got rerolls, and Desperate Measures are a ton of fun in the new edition. But if you're aiming to win, and if you're aiming to go at it from a league point of view, then actually this is not bad at all. If you want to try out Orcs, this is what I would recommend you run. Now, you've got the Orc Blitzer, and everything we just said skill-wise for the Blitzer is exactly right, okay? Then you've got the big and blockers. Now, this is an underrated positional in 7s. Okay, if I said to you, do you like Ulf Warreners? You're going to go, yeah, they're great. Do you like Bloodseekers? You're going to go, they are dangerous, right? Okay, big and blocker is that player short 1 skill. Movement 5 is brilliant. I've been playing a lot of Black Orcs recently. Movement 4 is not brilliant. I wish I had Movement 5. The big and blocker has Movement 5. Edge 4+ means that when it's based, you're not going to want to risk it, especially in a 7s environment with less rerolls. But actually, this is it. This is where that big un can get 1 skill and be something really special. You can give him block, and he just starts throwing 2-die blocks. If your opponent doesn't base him and give you a free 2-die block most of the time, he's going to be able to blitz. And with 5 squares, he's going to be able to blitz from left to right, basically anywhere he wants to go. And when he makes contact, he's going to be rolling 2 dice. And if you've upgraded him with block, those 2 dice are going to be all it needs to put that opponent into the ground. Or you can play a little bit risky and build your own Orc Ulfwerener. Orc Werener. Okay, Blork Werener, Bub Werener. I don't know. The Black Orc blocker with Frenzy in 7s with movement 5 and strength 4 means you are probably going to be throwing 4 dice at any target on the pitch. Alright, if they're the other side of the field, then it's a problem. But if they're coming into your half and you've got a Frenzy Bub in the center of your backfield, they are going to struggle real hard to be able to protect that target from you going move, 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 2-die block, follow up, 2-die block, 4-die block, right? Frenzy block. So the big and blocker, you've got block to be more consistent, going to be bringing 2 dice most of the time, or you go less consistent but way more murderous and chuck in that frenzy skill. You've got an Orc Blitzer, you've got 2 Orc Blitzers there, maybe one's got guard to help support, but that big and blocker taking frenzy is going to be just a ton of combat dice. You've got the Orc Thrower in there as well, and we've talked about the Orc Thrower a bit. Hey, it comes with sure hands. The best skill for the Orc Thrower is block to keep it safe as possible. The other good skill for an Orc Thrower who has access to passing skills on a general is Leader. If you can, for example, with this roster, sneak 3 skills on and you go Leader Orc Thrower, that gives you 2 rerolls per half. Block or Frenzy Big and Blocker, that gives you a really menacing backfield threat. And you can just choose to sprinkle 1 skill of your choice then on an Orc Blitzer, which is probably going to be tackled to help you with that. It's a great roster, and this is going to give you the real kind of... This is kind of Orc tapas. And you can flex it a little bit further to take the 2 Blitzer Troblin, okay? This is for those people who want to get a troll onto the pitch. I challenge you to make that a good idea. This is an untrained troll, so be aware that this is going to be re-rolling. It's going to be rolling loner on a 4+. You do have a reroll on this roster, so don't use it on the troll, because if it's anything like my troll, yes, Gronk, it will let you down. So the 2 Blitzer Troblin reroll build has 2 Blitzers, a troll and a goblin, and a reroll. So what this roster does is you've got those 2 Blitzers to be your star players. Then you've got a troll, and that troll's job is to either be a battering ram, okay? You want him to walk forward across the pitch and just choose a lane, and then start chanting Grond, 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 because he's going to walk in there and just start smashing face. Most of the time it's going to be 2 dice with a couple of good supports. You may even be able to sneak a 3-die block in there with your troll, and Mighty Blow is really, really, really useful. Also, the troll gives you the ability to throw a goblin, who we've put on this roster as well. Now, throwing players after the FAQ is risky, because if you knock down a player with your thrown goblin, it is a turnover. But as long as you do it last thing of the turn, it can still be a lot of fun. And actually, if it lands well, the 7s pitch with a goblin in the backfield can be very, very, very dangerous. So to help your troll, you've got a couple of things you can do. When it comes to big guys, a technically correct thing is always to give them block. So when it comes to 7s, the likelihood of you being able to access a secondary skill, I don't know, maybe. These Orcs are tier 2 now, so most 7 sets you'll end up with 2 primaries and a double skill, potentially. And actually, putting block on a troll is not a bad one, but I want you to consider putting pro on him as well. You've only got 7 players on this roster. There's only going to be 7 players on the pitch, and if the troll needs a friend to keep activating him, sometimes that's not going to be possible. So giving him pro gives him an opportunity to re-roll a failed dice. You roll a 3+, you get to re-roll 1 dice from that dice pool. So if he's blocking, actually, you roll push, 3+, I can re-roll that push and maybe I'll get a POW. Okay, and then if it doesn't activate because he's really stupid, on a 3+, you get a chance to re-roll it. So if he's got friendship, it takes it down from a 1 in 6 failure to what? A 1 in 18 failure? Maybe something like that. Anyway, it really can help, and pro is a skill that can be used every single turn. Now, if you are adamant that you want to be throwing stuff with your troll, then strong arm is going to be a really good way to make sure that your goblin has the best chance of landing better, okay, because you've got a better chance. In fact, you've got twice the chance of throwing a superb throw teammate throw. Get some SPP, not normally used in 7s, but you can be excited about it, and it gives you probably a chance to get +1 on your landing, which is going to help because it's 7s and you want that dude to stay on his feet, because hitting the ground at any speed is not good for anybody, let alone a goblin. Now, there's also guard. Now, guard on a big guy is really useful. We've already said that in 7s there tends to be a little bit more space on the pitch. And when it comes to a troll, there are not going to be too many teams that want to actively base your troll. So if your troll is based at the beginning of your turn, then you've probably got a 2-die Mighty Blow block just being given freely. In 7s, that can be really juicy because 1 player gone is very big. If they leave your troll open, you may want to take a troll blitz. Most of the time, the troll's getting 2 dice on the blitz. Most of the time, another player with a support, i.e. from the troll's guard, is also going to get a 2 die for the blitz. So a really good thing you can do here is actually big guy guard, move him in, blitz somebody else. If your big guy fails the movement, you still haven't lost your blitz action. When it comes to the troll, it's not a bad way to do it. You can take Juggernaut if you're going to be blitzing with him, Brawler if you expect him to be in combat, but actually in 7, skills are so limited, I wouldn't waste those on a troll. But if you get hands on a double, block or pro will make him much better. Now, the Goblin is a incredibly fast piece when it comes to 7s. Like I said, movement 6 with dodge and stunty means that he's 3+ anywhere, which is very fast. Don't let the 6 don't let the 6 put you off. 6 squares in the 7s pitch is quite a long way. Now, giving him sure feet and or sprint can basically take him to automatic movement 8 and a potential movement of 9 in a straight line through your opponents. It is brilliant. If you get access to some secondary skills, block is never bad on a little guy. If you get access to a random general, put it on a goblin. It's brilliant. Sure hands, you've got a ball carrying goblin. Wrestle, block, Dauntless, Frenzy, you've got a little combat suicide goblin that's going to be able to run into a cage and just take 2 dice on anybody ever. It's brilliant fun, definitely recommend it. There is a sneaky extra skill though that is definitely worth considering, which is Break Tackle. Now Break Tackle allows you to make a dodge roll, and if you don't like what it says, add +1 to it if you're a goblin. If you are strength 5 or more, you add +2 to it. So this is essentially going to mean that that 2 you roll when you dodge once a turn becomes a 3, you get the dodge. It's +1 to dodge basically once a turn. So that's going to mean that you are way harder to slow down. So it's always dice, and when you're playing with goblins, it's always going to be dice. But this skill makes those dice a little better. And if you really love goblins, then the Turbo Goblin 2 reroll roster is for you. 4 goblins, 2 rerolls. 4 line orcs as well. It gives you 8 players, 2 rerolls, bang on 600k. Now, I don't recommend this roster if you're trying to win, but this is going to give your opponent some unique challenges. 2 rerolls in 7s means that actually when you want to do something, you're probably going to be able to do it. Having 4 speed 6 stunty 3++ guys with dodge means your roster's going to be quite fast. This is an interesting one. Those 4 line orcs become blockless slow orc blitzers, and the goblins become runners and just fast dudes. It's actually going to be quite a lot of fun because your goblin is going to pair off with a line orc most of the time and be able to give a nice juicy assist. If you get a couple of skills, then actually this is where you kind of brew up either a sure hands goblin, sure hands line orc to be your slow thrower, or chucking block on those line orcs to basically make them slow blitzers. Interesting roster. You can do it with 2 rerolls, and it is quite an interesting challenge. And the last roster that we have for you today is the 4 desperate bubblets. So in Blood Bowl 7s there is now a new inducement for 50k that is called a Desperate Measure. And at the start of the game, you roll a d8, and there's a very interesting mix of things, including a wizard and a special power that you can choose one of your opponent's players and they just skip the first drive of the game. Desperate Measures can be really powerful. Normally, you have to give up players or something for it to work out. Well, actually, with the 4 Desperate Bubblets, you can lean into that. And if you look at this roster, we've got 2 Blitzers with block. We've got 4 Big and Blockers with Strength 4. Now, obviously, there's a bit of interchangeability there. You can upgrade or downgrade those Big and Blockers to be Blitzers if you want to, because the Blitzers are slightly cheaper. So actually, you can run 4 Blitzers and 3 Line Orcs and 2 Desperate Measures. And you've got those 3 Line Orcs to pad it out to 7. But this roster leans in to the Desperate Measures, and having 2 of them gives you 2 shots at 1 and 8 for a wizard, and it's just going to be carnage. And the thing is, you're not left short. You've got 2 Blitzers with block who are move 6, who are prime candidates for a sure hands ball carrier role. You've got 2 Big and Blockers who can be there to just help support, clear a hole, or just give some great backfield defense. And you've got 3 Line Orcs there who can be brilliant as well. You are giving up a reroll, basically, for the chance at 2 opportunities to roll for a wizard. So it is subpar, and in most tournaments you won't be able to do it, but if you're playing a tournament that does have, or if you're playing a little league that does have Desperate Measures, this one is actually really fun. You can even downgrade one of your Big and Blockers to be the thrower to give yourself that sure hands. You lose a team reroll from that roster, but you gain those Desperate Measures. So I didn't want to not represent a roster that would maximize those Desperate Measures, because they are just an absolute ton of fun. Okay, so Orcs are brilliant in 7s. You get a little bit of almost everything. They are mid-range powerhouses, and we've looked at 4, 5, 6 different rosters that kind of show the flexibility within the team. So if you're playing some 7s and you want a bit of everything, then Orcs are a really great place to do it. If you are an Orc coach, a green skin coach, you are going to love romping them on the field in 7s. The Blitzers become really great Blitzers. The Big and Blockers become absolute huge linebackers, and Goblins just become super cheeky. It is such a fun team. I cannot recommend Orcs enough for Blood Bowl 7s, and that is why we've started September 7s, or 7 September, with this roster. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Let me know what your favourite roster is for Orcs in 7s, whether you're going to be taking them, what you do differently, because I absolutely love it. And I'm going to go record some more 7s videos. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.